Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day. As always, a free way to support the channel is by leaving a thumbs up, by subscribing, by leaving a comment, telling me what you had for breakfast or what you plan on doing with your crypto money when you become rich. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This is going to be a bit of a special video as I feel this needs to be addressed because of the sequence of events that actually took place and the madness that it caused within the cryptocurrency community. So I'm going to go through the timeline just to give you everything, and then you'll get the full explanation, and then we can all go on our merry ways and realize that the cryptocurrency market makes no sense. So the first sequence of events is Bitcoin's price started to drop. For those of you now looking at the screen, it says Bitcoin price breakdown. Targets $25,000 despite investor sentiment remaining positive. There has really been no negative cloud over our heads as far as price-wise within the cryptocurrency space over the last couple of months. We know that we keep breaking barriers. We know that we keep going higher. The news that we keep getting every day on this channel is that institutions, banks, companies, yada, yada, you've heard me say it time and time again, are buying up tons of Bitcoin. They're not buying up one Bitcoin. They're not buying up 10. They're buying up 3,000 in one day, 14,000 in one day, $600 million of it in one day. These are quite substantial numbers, and it means that we are currently in a bull market. However, you may have noticed over the last, it's been about 40 odd hours at this point that the market has been dropping, and namely Bitcoin. When Bitcoin drops, everything else tends to drop. Other times, it may not always be the case. However, Bitcoin is that really strong magnet. A lot of confusion began to go through the cryptocurrency space. People were trying to figure out exactly what was happening. We spoke about this yesterday as well. If it had to do with some type of futures ending or beginning, or if someone had done something to the network, or if something had said something, or if there was some major investor who was like, I don't like Bitcoin, it's terrible. Usually we've seen before in the past, if these things start circulating around, they can have an effect on the price, or it could have simply been that the market got too hot and therefore the prices started going down. However, and here we go. What happened is that BitMEX Research had announced that they saw something that looked a little bit unusual on the Bitcoin blockchain. They said there was a stale Bitcoin block today at height 666,833. Slush Pool has beaten F2 Pool in a race, it appears, if a small double spend of around 62,000 Satoshis, roughly around $21, was detected. So I saw this. I didn't have things going off in my head like alarms, but I've heard of things like this before, and they usually end up being false. I'm going to tell you exactly what all of this really means so that you can really get it into your head why people began to panic. The idea behind Bitcoin is, you heard me say it before, how many Bitcoin are there? Say it out loud to the person next to you, especially if they have no idea what's going on. How many Bitcoin can there ever be? Exactly. 21 million, no more, no less. That is what's set out by the actual protocol. We know that there's 4 to 6 million lost and gone forever. I've gone over these numbers because it's very significant because Bitcoin is finite. Usually in the world that we live in, if something is finite, we usually find another way to kind of get around it, or we create something that looks just like it. You can't do that with Bitcoin. This is why Bitcoin is winning the race, because it does actually represent the first instance of digital scarcity. The entire point being, if at some point somebody manages to enter the protocol, do something to the protocol, manipulate it in some sort of way, and they create even just 62,000 Satoshis, even if they created one extra Satoshi, it means that millions of other people around the world will be able to do the exact same thing, and therefore the 21 million no longer holds. Investors are buying into Bitcoin because we know for a fact by looking at the blockchain and looking at the protocol that there can only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. Then the name of the game is not 21 million Bitcoin and then some if some other people decide to print anymore. People were asking me yesterday on Twitter, and I saw in the comment section as well, people were saying, well, it's not that big of a deal. It's only $21. It destroys what Bitcoin is for. It's meant to be scarce. This is why people are shunning, pushing aside, or talking negatively, what have you, about gold. Because we keep finding more and more gold in the earth every single day. Same exact thing with diamonds. We know that diamonds aren't really rare. It's that a couple of companies. One in particular holds 95% of them back and only releases a small portion of them actually onto the market. You can't do that with Bitcoin. Whenever Bitcoin is created, everybody on the network can see exactly how much is created and by who, which mining pool, at what time. We all have this information. So if someone is able to create more Bitcoin, they have destroyed the entire network. A couple of people were saying it doesn't make sense why Bitcoin would have fallen by $9,000. No, it makes complete sense. It means that in the future, somebody else will go, well, they created 56,000 Satoshis. I'm going to create 128,000. Somebody will go, listen, I created a whole extra Bitcoin. Bitcoin falls to zero because the entire point of Bitcoin, once again, is digital scarcity. And the other really big problem that I also saw popping up as well, and I know, forgive me, but it showed the actual stupidity within the cryptocurrency space because so many people don't understand that even if they are into altcoins, you're also into Bitcoin. You want Bitcoin to survive so that your coins also survives. If Bitcoin goes down to zero, your coins go down to negative 1,000. They completely implode. The entire idea of the cryptocurrency space is Bitcoin. There were a lot of people who were talking about, yeah, Bitcoin's falling, my coin's going to start doing so. And so I saw articles talking about, is Chainlink going to take over for Bitcoin? Is this going to take over for Bitcoin? All following the same exact news story that a double spend attack had happened. Bitcoin was crumbling. Bitcoin was falling apart. See, I told you Bitcoin was garbage. I told you Bitcoin was trash. Start using BSV. Start using Bcash. It was everywhere. I sat there looking. I was like, these people can't be serious. Like, you don't understand. If someone is able to, with the amount of infrastructure and the amount of people who are mining and securing the Bitcoin network, if they're able to double spend on Bitcoin, BSV, Bcash, Ethereum, these coins are dead in the water immediately, almost overnight. So what happened was, I had to explain that to you. You have to understand the severity of the idea that Bitcoin's protocol is broken, that there's some type of a flaw in it. The same exact thing like in Star Wars where they were flying that little ship and they found the little hole in the Death Star machine. I know it has a real name. The point is, and they shot the, pew, 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 and the whole thing exploded. It's the exact same thing. It's this impenetrable fortress, and someone finds a little spot like this, shoots a laser inside of it, and the entire thing explodes from the inside. I know it may seem a bit dramatic, but that's exactly what it is. So BitMEX came forward. It's not their fault. People were kind of attacking BitMEX, but they're simply the messenger. They came forward, said what they had found, and were like, hey, everyone else should kind of look into this. The issue was, however, is that Cointelegraph, and they are not the only ones. A lot of people are also upset with Cointelegraph, as they kind of were the first to do so. Basically announcing Bitcoin is flawed, Bitcoin has a problem. And I also wondered why as well. Typically, when I do news stories, I try to make sure. Listen, I do not have 99 hours to be able to check all the cryptocurrency news and et cetera, and read websites in Russian and Chinese. But this is why I always make sure to open up another tab to show you where the actual information came from. So it's simply not just me saying, well, Bitcoin's going to be $1 million. I show you why all this information makes sense in the context. The situation was Cointelegraph, one of the largest cryptocurrency news platforms in the crypto space, announced Bitcoin double spend spotted in the wild. I don't think maybe the person who wrote said article simply didn't understand the gravity of what they said, but it caused everyone to panic. If Cointelegraph is saying it, well, then they must have done their own research and they must know that this event is actually true. Bitcoin is flawed. Bitcoin is broken. Something's wrong with Bitcoin. We're going to have a major problem, and therefore Bitcoin is going to completely collapse, and the rest of the cryptocurrency space is also going to fall into the ground as well. This is what it means. So I had hoped in a certain fashion that this was simply news that was within the cryptocurrency sphere. We could scuff it out, figure out exactly what happened, and kind of move on. No. Part of the problem is that we've had an enormous amount of institutional investors in the space, and it is no longer the cryptocurrency space only talking about cryptocurrency news. Market Insider said, with a crazy photo, Bitcoin falls 11% after reports suggest a critical flaw in the cryptocurrency called a double spend may have occurred. If you can double spend on something that is finite, it's no longer finite. It's like you imagine walking into a store and you say, hey, I want that behind the cashier. And you hand them a $1 bill. They turn away, put the $1 bill away, they look back at you, and you're still holding that $1. It's impossible. It's supposed to actually be impossible because they already took that money away from you. So this began to circulate quite quickly. I tried to open up a couple of other websites, but the bigger financial news websites now want you to sign up to them and or pay you to look at their articles. I don't think they're in the future yet, but it says oil slides on, demand fears, gold struggles, Bitcoin tanks on potential double spend story. You can imagine what this means if there are tons of people who've invested $10 million, $50 million, $500 million being told that the protocol was secure. What happens if someone releases information that says, no, Bitcoin's not secure. Bitcoin can actually be manipulated by anyone, which it can't. Spoiler alert. For those of you who didn't kind of get that. So the problem was that this spread quite quickly and prices began to tumble. And every time that we had reached a new level of support, we continued falling down because there was no real indication, or rather no one was really looking into if this had actually took place or not. Lo and behold, that brings us to this in the sequence of events. After the panic phase, now we have the information phase. It says Bitcoin solves the Byzantine generals problem. For those of you who've never heard of the Byzantine generals problem, I think it's also called like Byzantine fault tolerance. It has a whole bunch of different random weird names. The entire idea is that, let's say there's a castle, whole bunch of knights, and they have to actually attack this castle. How do they share information when they're not all together? If you're up here, I'm 15 miles away, he's over here. How do we make sure that we all share information together? Because the problem is we can all have the idea that we're supposed to be doing the exact same thing, but as we try to attack, he may run away, and then we have the wrong information. Us three right here, we're trying to attack it, and therefore we go to attack, but the castle is much stronger than just 3 knights, and we completely fall apart. We get around this through the Byzantine generals problem by a blockchain. We share the exact same information at the exact same time so we can all see that there's no faults in it. I can hold up my phone, you can hold up your phone over here, he can hold up his phone or his computer, his laptop, whatever, and we can all see at the exact same time, the exact same moment, which block was mined, how much the transaction cost was, who the transaction went to, what address it came from. It's a shared information. A blockchain. We share this information amongst us, and therefore there can be no confusion. We all have the exact same information at the exact same time, and this is why Bitcoin solves the Byzantine general fault tolerance problem. It's very important because no one knew how do you share. It seems logical to us now because we have a blockchain, but imagine trying to share information among 7, 8 different people who are on different parts of the world at the exact same time. You can call up, you can have a video conference, you can have a video call, you can all write down. I can write down 6, you can write down 6, he can write down 15, we can write down 9. But if we have a shared ledger that is immutable, you cannot change it. What's there is there. We all have the same information. And if someone at some point says, oh, well, I see the number 11, we can all go, Jim, stop lying. We can all see that it's a 5. And then you can hold up your computer and show him that it's an actual 5. That's the point of it. This is why Bitcoin is not just money. Bitcoin is a lot of different things wrapped up into it. And the fact that Bitcoin actually, Satoshi Nakamoto, figured out how to solve this is very important for the world at large. Bitcoin solves the Byzantine generals problem to ensure trustless consensus and stood out among previous attempts to launch a digital currency by solving the double spend problem, ensuring that no more than 21 million Bitcoin will ever exist, and preventing someone from simply copying and pasting Bitcoin to have more funds. This was news around 2012, 13, and 14. A lot of people who were just getting into Bitcoin. A lot of the FUD that we have now is know your customer, anti-money laundering kind of things. Back then it was, well, why can't someone simply just print more Bitcoin? And you were trying to explain this to them, they go, that doesn't make any sense. We haven't figured out how to solve the Byzantine problem, so therefore someone at some point is going to make more Bitcoin. And then eventually they learn more, they feel kind of stupid, and then they go, oh, wait, now I love Bitcoin. A report published by Cointelegraph this week suggested that $22 worth of Bitcoin was double spent and that it had been spotted, implying that 62,000 extra Satoshis had been spent twice on the blockchain. See why this is a problem now? Because it breaks Bitcoin. If a double spend was possible on Bitcoin, trust with such a broken and trust trust would be broken and the cryptocurrency's value would, as such, be worthless. It would drop down to zero, like it would actually collapse. You don't understand. There's no use of Bitcoin anymore. Why would the people are using Bitcoin and gathering up Bitcoin because it is finite. If we know it's not finite, then we have to move on to a new asset. But at the moment, the entire cryptocurrency space revolves around Bitcoin. So people were cheering that Bitcoin was falling and that their coins would soon go back up. And it's like, no, your coin is also going to zero. Think. Panic has seemingly taken over as the price of Bitcoin has plunged by more than 11% over the last 24 hours to 31,000 at press time, seemingly reacting to the report. It was this. I promise you this was the news that caused Bitcoin to go down. The article was based on information from BitMEX Research, which initially speculated that the transaction could have indeed been a double spend, but later on revealed that on closer inspection, it was likely to be an instance of RBF and replaced by fee, with the lower fee transaction winning. We're going to get into all that in 1 second. It's not BitMEX's fault. BitMEX, Sentiment, Chainalysis, they all report on these things as way because we have tons of people who are looking at the blockchain to make sure that it's secure, to see if there are any anomalies actually happening. The problem is that they retracted and said, oh, we figured out what it was. But other websites begin to like wildfire. We've seen before, if Bitcoin has fallen by 8% in one day, remember a week and some change ago when Bitcoin fell by 25% and websites went insane and all they could talk about was Bitcoin's over, Bitcoin's done, Bitcoin has fallen, gold is going to win. They thrive on negative information, not realizing that they sound like idiots because everything that they continuously report is always wrong. But the problem is when that spreads like wildfire and it's something that Bitcoin is broken, that's a problem for all of us. What indeed happened, however, was not a double spend and was instead the Bitcoin blockchain working exactly as it was supposed to. Andreas Antonopoulos, one of the very few people on Twitter who was actually rapidly firing back at everyone, being like, no, you're all completely wrong. Here's what actually took place. Clarified on social media what happened. Over a series of tweets, Andreas Antonopoulos revealed it was indeed a chain reorganization from the blockchain, a common occurrence that is part of Bitcoin's normal operations. Per his words, these reorganizations are common in proof-of-work blockchains. He explained that when two blocks are mined simultaneously or almost simultaneously, they compete for the same height. Blocks have heights. So the blockchain continues building up higher and higher. So you want to be in block, you want to be in the, you know how like a chain is kind of like this? Imagine like between the actual links, a transaction tries to go inside of it. So everyone is always fighting to have the transaction actually being placed on the blockchain. That's just how it works. And this is why we have transaction fees. Usually the ones with the higher transaction fees, they end up getting inside the actual chain and therefore the next chain link gets built. So it's a simple way of kind of thinking about it. So if two are mined at the same exact time, simultaneously, they compete for the same height, same place inside the actual blockchain, which means that they both have the same parent block in the blockchain. In the long run, however, only one of these blocks can succeed. As a block is mined every 10 minutes, only 10 minutes later would another block be mined with one of those competing blocks as its parent block. And here's the explanation right here. Basically what happened was two blocks were competing, trying to get into the blockchain at the exact same time. They looked almost identical. One actually got inside and one was basically floating around waiting to kind of be confirmed. I don't know what happened to it after. Don't really honestly care, but the blockchain worked as it was supposed to, as it has been working over the last 12 to 13 years. Byzantine thing. Yeah, right there. For those of you who don't know as well, there are multiple different websites where you can actually see this. These are all the unconfirmed transactions. We know that Bitcoin is slow. Got it, yada, yada. If you look over here, it might be a bit easier to see. We can see every single time that transactions are actually taking place on the Bitcoin blockchain. This is shared information. I found this easily, and you can too. We can all look at this. Is why Bitcoin's amazing, because there is no fault. Someone can't say, well, I didn't send $30,000. No, we saw. You sent it from this address. It's on your computer. We knew exactly who it went to as well. This is why Bitcoin is special, because everyone shares this information. You can go online right now and see this exact same information. You can even download a Bitcoin node or start mining Bitcoin by yourself. You can even get an old computer. You may only be getting like 1 cent a week, but you understand. The point being, there was no double spend. But the damage is definitely there, because I'm pretty sure behind the scenes there are mega investors who didn't plan on getting into it. They heard from a friend who heard from somebody else over the course of the last 2 days that Bitcoin was broken. Bitcoin was going down. They decided to not get into the market, or simply they could go, I told you it was garbage. Man, you got to keep investing in gold and the US dollar because those are going to be the things that are going to make it. But information like this is very bad. This is why I always say, make sure to do your own research. I may bring you some type of information, but I could be completely wrong. I am also human. I am at fault a lot of times. So therefore, if you hear me say something that sounds completely out of left field, right field, north field, not a thing. Is north field a thing? The point is, continue to do your own research. It's important that you also learn about these things as well as you get into the space, so that when in the future, in 4 years, somebody else goes, well, I heard Bitcoin had a double spend. You can go, no, it didn't. Because you'll know the information and you'll know exactly why it didn't have a double spend. So the damage has been done. The most important part now is to let other people kind of know, hey, Bitcoin's still doing what it does. It's still a slow train that's chugging along at 3 transactions per second, but it's not broken. There was no double spend, and there still only are 21 million Bitcoin. So, yeah, I guess not really much more to say after that. For those of you not looking at the screen, it says on-chain analysts identify more whales are buying the Bitcoin dip. I assume there are probably more than a handful of investors out there who are or have realized that there was no double spend, saw the prices dropping, and they were like, okay, this is really good for all of us. Once again, if there's a dip in the market and the prices don't move up and skyrocket, when we get news like this, people are always like, well, why isn't the market going back up? People buy with bots. People buy with robots. People buy automatically at certain points. You can execute thousands of trades over the course of a day and not cause the price to move. But I have a strange feeling. Here we go. It's Friday. Got to get down on Friday. I give it by next Thursday, next Friday. We are probably going to hear some news reports of either MicroStrategy, Grayscale, or some brand new company come forward and say, we've been waiting to get into the cryptocurrency space, and the dip last week was just what we were waiting for, so we bought 25,000 Bitcoin. I assure you it's going to happen. I do hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all feel more reassured. You have the information. This is why the internet's amazing. It's why I make these videos, to make sure, because I know that there are a lot of moments where people panic. If prices drop, people don't really understand what's going on. You don't know if Bitcoin's broken, if people are selling, or what's really taking place. Remember the last dip that we had by 25%? The news that we got is that it was new people in the market who were selling off their coins rapidly. They saw the prices falling. They were terrified. They sold. And do you remember who bought all those coins up? We know who bought them up. It was the whales. It was the richest people on the planet. We had news the next day and a half as Bitcoin went from 30,000 to 36,000 once again, that the largest wallets on the planet had been accumulating thousands of more Bitcoin, and the number of wallets who had over 1,000 Bitcoin also skyrocketed at the exact same time. So yeah, I'm here to bring you the information that you need to understand this space. I know it can be a bit ridiculous, but now you know what a double spend is. Now you know what the Byzantine problem is and how it's been solved, and you know that this photo is ridiculous. Like, look at the actual panic on this man's face. Anyway, I do hope you all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope that it is absolutely fantastic. I might try and make a normal video, like normal news, because there's, of course, a lot of it. Might try and relax today. It feels like a relaxy kind of time, but I think the most important part was letting you know that there was no double spend in Bitcoin and its blockchain are just fine. Thank you all once again for watching and or listening, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.